Greetings, everybody, here on July the 28th. Yes, my name is Murph, and I welcome you here to Prog Monster. This is episode number 4 of the 31 albums that introduced me to this band, the series that we're running for the month of July. I hope that you will enjoy this episode as much as I'm enjoying doing it. So the band we are doing today is Black Sabbath. The album that introduced me to Black Sabbath is Heaven and Hell. This came out 1980. Absolutely killer album. Still probably my favorite Sabbath album, but it's probably under assault by half a dozen other Sabbath albums at any given moment. There's really a stack at the top now that I like a lot. This is still number one. Mainly, I have a sentimental attachment to this album. Also, I do like this photo of Dio with the other boys, Geezer Butler, Tony Iommi, and Bill Ward on there as well. Absolutely killer album. There's the track listing produced by none other than Martin Birch. Yep, 8 killer songs. This album has always been pretty much a dominant heavy metal album for me. It probably introduced me to heavy metal, because I think this was really the first heavy metal album that I ever really got into. Came out in 1989. Sabbath was very different on this album than they had been on their predecessors. Although those albums were heavy, this one had a kind of a forward, kind of 80-ish sounding, crunching noise to it. Absolutely killer. The first song that I ever really liked by them, Neon Nights. Absolutely love this track. Still one of my favorite Black Sabbath tracks. It just mashes and bashes along at high speed. Very unusual for Sabbath. They don't normally do those kind of fast-paced songs. This one's a bit of an outlier. Maybe Die Young might be the other one that has that kind of same feel to it. Fast-paced, hammering, killing, excellent vocals, excellent guitar. This whole album is proliferated and dominated by Ronnie James Dio's excellent vocal sound to his voice. Perfect, absolutely killer. The second song on this album, Children of the Sea, another kind of different song for them. It's got almost an acoustic classical feel to it, but heavy at the same time in different aspects. The lyrics are really killer, and Ronnie James Dio absolutely knocks this song out of the park. It's one of my favorite vocal songs by him. Absolutely killer. The next song, Lady Evil, never really kind of took off for me. Had a little bit of a moment there because the bass part is so heavy, so catchy. But it never really rose above a B song for me, but I do like it still. Heaven and Hell, of course, the title track, probably the most overplayed song on this album. Still a really good song. Not one of my favorites anymore, but definitely a crushing song. Also the longest track on the album. And when you see it live, it just drags on too long. That's part of the reason why I don't care for it as much. Then we get to Wishing Well, which is on the first song on the flip side, on the B side. That really killer song. Always been one of my favorite Sabbath songs. Always been one of my favorite songs on this album. I still love it. Definitely a pounding song. This whole album is kind of pounding in a way. Die Young, of course, we've already mentioned that. Walk Away, probably first kindly one of the One Weak Sister on the album. It's a song I've never really warmed up to. I think it was originally planned to be the kind of single from the album, but I never really warmed up to it, and I think it never really reached what its zenith was. And the last song, Lonely is the Word, this was probably the song I liked the least initially on the album. Over time, it's grown. It's probably a top 4 or 5 on this album now. Really strong, fantastic, very emotional, catchy, kind of forlorn type song. Absolutely killer. This album is beefy guitars, beefy bass, heavy drum aspect to it, and a powerful vocal performance by Ronnie James Dio. This is a very different sounding Sabbath from the Ozzy era stuff. But it launched this album for me and this group for me, putting Black Sabbath on the menu. And then, of course, I went back and started collecting the old Sabbath at the same time. moving forward with the next album out for them, which was The Mob Rules, another really killer album as well. Unfortunately, that would have been Dio's last one for a while, which is very unfortunate because I think this band could have gone really skyrocketing with him. Just absolutely killer. But it didn't happen. And it may, but still they put out this, and it's still my favorite of their albums. I still like it a lot. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of my 31 albums that launched these bands for me. Today we're doing Black Sabbath's Heaven and Hell. Please hit the like and subscribe. If you got any comments about this album, you can put them on the comment section below, or if you want to talk about the band Black Sabbath. I know people will talk about the difference between Ozzy and Dio. Two vocalists, I do love both of them, but Dio to me is one of the great vocalists of all time, where Ozzy I think is more one of the great frontman kind of sound for Black Sabbath. So I'm not going to take away from either of them. At one time I would have easily took Dio's side, not so much anymore because I realize that's just more of a childish behavior on my own part. Anyways, you can put any comments about the songs or anything you want in the comment section below. And I urge you to hit the notification bell so you get notified. And I thank you for showing up today. I hope you have a good evening and a good rest of the day. And we will see you tomorrow with another episode. We are now down to the final 3 albums that introduced me to these bands. I don't think it will be entirely hard for people to figure out what at least one of them is, maybe 2 of them. Anyways, take care and have yourself a good day, and goodbye.